All right, it's pumping over there. We'll probably be up in a second.
Great.
There it is. And let's fix that. It's streaming live, which is great. Let's record this. The voice from above, we're all set. And I think we're good. Let's see. Come on, I know you can do it. There we go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Whiskey Wednesday. They're a feisty but attentive crowd
I'm here
tonight.
for it.
You're here for it too? All right. Marissa Mazzotta. Mazzotta?
Yeah, Mazzotta. You
Okay.
got it.
Mazzotta
Yep.
is here with us. She is the chief cook and bottle washer for Samson and Surrey, who owns a bunch of different brands.
Mhm.
One of the main ones, of course, being Widow Jane.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what she's here to talk to us about tonight. So without further ado, let's start talking about Widow Jane.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so many
Give us
places
a
to
little bit.
begin.
Yeah, just give us a little background on the Widow Jane brand.
Sure. So, Widow Jane, we have been making whiskey since 2012. But our story really starts almost 200 years before that, where we get our namesake from, which is the Widow Jane Mines. So in the early part of the 1800s, right, in Rosendale, New York, it's about 100 miles north of Brooklyn, where our facility is, are the Rosendale mines.
Okay.
So historically, the Rosendale mines were producing most of the cement that, we were seeing on the East Coast. So, the foundations of New York City, the base of the Statue of Liberty was using Rosendale cement, Brooklyn Bridge, parts of Grand Central Terminal. So really, this cement was going all throughout the East Coast, and it was a big commodity. A little bit of folklore to talk about the Widow Jane name. The mines themselves got renamed because, so originally back in the day, it was the Snyder family who controlled the mines.
Okay.
And so not only did they control the mines, but they had the whole town under pretty much their rule. They owned the bars, the brothels, the living quarters,
The important stuff.
the important stuff. So people were working for them, they're getting out of work, and then they're going and paying it right back to him. When he
Well, that's
passed,
what you guys owe your soul to the company store. It's just sort of the
exactly,
exact same thing, right?
exactly. So when he passed, the town really wanted to rename the mine. He kind of left a bad kind of taste for them in that capacity. And there's quite a few different stories you can pull from. All of these, you could even come up with your own version of the Widow Jane myth. But what we like to think about is that, there were a widow in his family, and we like to think that they were named after the widow of the Snyder family,
Okay.
effectively. Some people will talk about a little bit of ghost story. I've been in the mines. I was actually just in the mines this past Friday. I went up there for a little hike and to walk around. It's spooky, but it doesn't feel haunted. So I wouldn't say that there's a ghost of the Widow
That's
Jane.
just what they want you to think. All the ghosts want you to think. No,
Yeah.
not here. Not here. It's not haunted until you find out it's haunted.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, so going back to the Rosendale, the cement, and the mines, what is there at the mines is this really awesome limestone water. And that is a big part of the Widow Jane story, is this limestone water that we use for proofing. And limestone water traditionally, is going to be very rich in calcium and magnesium. And we find that in whiskey, it leaves for a longer finish, like kind of a creamier mouthfeel. So all of our whiskeys are going to be proofed using this limestone water across the board. So everything we taste tonight. And a really,
That's important. I think that's just, let me stop you for 1 second because that's important because a lot of people think that it's all about the production of the distillation that limestone water is important, but it's only because it's this, you always use the same source.
Sure.
But what you're doing, because the facility is away from where the water source is, using for cooling and mash and all that stuff, you're using other water to do that.
Sure.
But you're using the limestone water to proof down.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's a difference there too, right?
There is. And I find too, especially with that proofing process, is where we are getting so much more of that water, and like what those qualities make for the overall product that we're having. And we can get into this a little bit more when we talk about our blending programs and getting whiskeys from other places, right? Like we don't have full control over the water that they're using,
Right.
but we do have control over the water that we're using for proofing.
For proofing. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, totally. But so that's kind of a little bit quick bit about the Widow Jane mines. So the mines were active till about 50, 60 years ago. And then they have now part of it, is on a historical society. You can actually go to some of the mines and tour them. They do concerts, a lot of live performances. There was actually one happening on one side of the mine the day I was there. But where we get our water from, do not fear, it is on a protected side of the mine under lock and key. We have installed filtration for the water so that it is food grade. And a couple times a month, we have a really great family that we work with up there, the Turcos family, and they truck down the water specifically for us.
Is it from a spring that's on limestone? Is that travels through the limestone? Is that what it is?
So,
Is it a natural spring?
So I don't know if I would refer to as a natural spring,
Okay.
right? So there are
Is it an
these
aquifer
mines,
side of-
yeah, more so like that, and that all the water is dripping down
Okay.
from the
Okay.
top,
Okay.
and condensation and whatnot is having it build up in the mines.
Okay. All right.
Exactly. Yep.
Just curious.
Yeah, no, great question too. Great question. Great question. And that's with the mines too, when they became again inactive, you can still go visit. It's a really great place to go see. I would highly recommend it if you're up there to go for a hike and whatnot. That's kind of the
Okay.
short version about
right.
the mines. Yeah.
That's cool because tonight we're actually going to start with your newest project.
Yes. Yes.
And I really, by the way, I really love the name, so I'll start with that. So,
Yeah.
Baby Jane.
Yes.
It should have been
Baby Jane is our baby.
should have been Sweet Baby Jane. But anyways, Baby Jane is the first one we're going to taste.
Yep.
So, but this project that you guys started with Baby Jane is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Than everything else.
Sure.
That we're going to taste tonight. So, give us the background of what was the sort of the key component to actually now starting to do this type of distillation with this corn and so forth. How did this come about?
Yeah. So Baby Jane is about a decade at least in the making, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what we were finding originally when we started, working on our whiskey project, is that we were using Bloody Butcher and Wapsie Valley. They're pretty common corns that are used in bourbon production. Bloody Butcher, has this deep, robust red coloring, leans a bit more savory, whereas Wapsie Valley, a little bit sweeter, a little bit lighter in the coloring. Well, I don't know if you guys know a whole lot about corn, but corn really easily cross-pollinates. And so usually like a lot of times too, there can be buffer crops to kind of separate that to make sure that, one breed doesn't go with another.
Okay.
Well, we were finding that this Bloody Butcher and the Wapsie Valley growing alongside each other started cross-pollinating. And we really liked what we saw. It had this beautiful, and that too, guys, there is a bottle here full of Baby Jane corn kernels. This really beautiful sunburst color in it. It has this deep, kind of rich flavor going on. And we were just really excited about it. And this kind of kicked off the largest heirloom corn project going on in the country.
Okay.
And it's really awesome. Only us can be making and using Baby Jane corn in our whiskey. It's a proprietary corn just made for us. And it's being grown in 3 states. So we won't be running out of this corn. And that's one thing too with crops. You want to make sure you kind of have the wealth spread a bit.
Yeah, something happens with one, you got the other, and you're not worried about it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we're having our corn grown in Kentucky, in New York, and also over in Pennsylvania for us. So we always have a source going.
Now, would that be when you grow corn in like Pennsylvania, especially in New York, is that a later season crop? So it would come like later in the summer. Like all I know is I don't know corn. I know eating corn, right? And so I know like my local farm is right now getting the corn that I like, that they're up to Georgia.
Okay.
All right. So eventually it'll be up to we'll be getting corn out of New Jersey late summer. And it won't be until August that we get corn like really local.
Yep.
So it's got to be the sort of the same thing for like, your New York corn and stuff like that. It comes later. It comes like later in the summer than probably Kentucky.
Sure. And that, corn in different places can, obviously grow quicker. And two, when we're thinking about, kind of distillation periods in general, it kind of falls and makes sense with our schedule for, if not all the corn to be ready at the same time, because we're distilling at certain different places. in that case. Yeah.
Interesting.
And that speaking to distillation, I think we want to talk a little bit about where we distill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I want people to understand this sort of part of it, because if you look on the label,
Sure.
it says distilled Kentucky and New York.
Mhm.
And people are like, well, what are they doing? How are they doing this corn, this specific corn? And then are they distilling it in both places? And I mean, I don't think that they're trying to hide anything. I think it's just people want to understand what the sort of the process is to making Baby Jane.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So Baby Jane first was always distilled in Brooklyn by us,
Okay.
right? And that if you ever came to the distillery or to the bar that we have there called Botanica, you could have the Baby Jane that had been being made in-house. We are still doing that. We do all of our distillation too in Red Hook on pot stills, which is really awesome. It's great seeing Sienna do it. The team over there is it's great. Can't speak more highly of them. In Kentucky, so in about 2022, we were Sampson and Surrey merged and became part of the larger Heaven Hill family. So it's really exciting now that we have this kind of larger parent in the
Yeah,
mix with us.
absolutely.
That gives us a lot
And
more
it's still family owned and
opportunities.
operated too. It's one of the
Exactly.
biggest, smallest,
It's one of the
biggest,
biggest
smallest
family-owned.
of,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly,
Ben,
exactly.
how do you want to look at it? It's sort of the biggest family owned, but one of the really sort of like not huge conglomerate of a distillation products.
Totally. And it's honestly the best kind of fit to be part of the Heaven Hill family. They really believe in Widow Jane. They believe in what we're doing over there. And they kind of let us have a lot of autonomy and keep what we're doing as our product. So back to
Well, they
distilling.
got it. Here's what a good company will do.
Yeah,
A bigger company buys a smaller company because they like what they do.
exactly.
And some people go, well, we like what you did. Now we're going to change it.
Yep,
And that's, to me, it's like, well, then why don't you just start your own?
exactly.
If you wanted to do that, you could just start at something else where, Heaven Hill's looking at it like, we really like what you do. Keep doing that. We're
Mhm.
just going to be here for support. You need help with barrels. You need this, you need that. That's what we're going to be here for. But we don't want to change the character of why we bought you.
You hit it right, exactly right. And so, with that, we are able to kind of ramp up production by being able to use our partner facilities in Bardstown and with the Kentucky team. So what happens, kind of think of it almost like a kitchen takeover.
Okay.
So Sienna, our head distiller, Sienna Jevermoth, will go down to Kentucky from New York and oversee, production and whatnot, the facilities. The only real differences are going to be the stills being used and the water source there. And that
Yeah, but it's the water source being used to distill the product.
exactly.
So, I mean, that's not,
To me, it's a bit moot at that point.
yeah.
Like
I
that's
mean,
not
you're
where you're getting
using,
it from.
you're taking something, you're distilling it. Duh.
Yep.
I mean, we're purifying it. So it's going to be purified here. It's going to be purified there. I think the finishing water used for proofing,
Yep.
it plays more of a play on palate than anything else.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Exactly right.
So now you're making the new make
Mhm.
in two different places.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you storing them in two different places now? So some of the barrels are now in Kentucky, some are in New York.
So they'll be when it's done in Kentucky, they'll be put in barrels, and then those barrels will age there sometimes for a little bit, and
Yeah.
then be sent over to us.
Okay.
So everything gets finished, bottled, proofed at our facilities in Red Hook.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That ensures too the quality that they are using our limestone water and fitting the standards that we're putting out there as our brand.
Are they shipping them up as barrels, or are they
Yes.
putting the barrels together as batches? No.
No, in that so
Because I think that's important for people to understand that the blending process is being done in New York too.
the blending process for all of our products is done by 3 people. And it is absolutely amazing what they are able to do. Yeah, we do all the blending. It's going to be our VP, Michelle Clark, our head distiller, Sienna Jevermoth, and head of front of house and experiences, Jacob Mellinger.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's all being done in New York.
All being done in New
Okay.
York, and very, very consistently. Like they're always blending, they're always working on stuff, they're always experimenting and trying new things. But yeah, we are absolutely 100% fully on board with doing all the blending ourselves.
Just out of curiosity, are they finding any, because this is a very unique situation, I think you have yourself
Yeah.
in, because you're basically trying to make the same distillate in two different spots, and then you're barreling it. And you're saying sometimes they're in Kentucky. I don't know for how long, but let's say the year.
Okay.
do you guys notice as the blending team noticing any difference in the barrels that are coming out of Kentucky compared to New York? Is they changing? I mean, it's not it doesn't have to be better or worse. It's just, but are they different?
They are a little different, but not in a noticeable way. But like, yeah, I wouldn't say that it's any kind of stark difference. And two, with the rest of our products across the board as blenders, we are getting other,
Right.
from Kentucky, from Indiana sometimes. And that's kind of what we love about our being blenders is being able to, find these certain notes that maybe we're just not hitting on or aren't working in certain areas. We know that Indiana grains typically like rye are a little bit spicier and bolder, and like
Right.
just thinking about what components makes sense and need to be used for that product. But I would say that the Baby Jane, like just Kentucky distillate, isn't too far off from what ours is. And again, considering we're overseeing all the process of it.
Yeah, no, I just was more like, the influence of of like the rick houses in Kentucky in comparison. Because I've known we've done stuff, single barrels and stuff that we've done.
Yeah.
We've had stuff age in Florida,
Oh my gosh. Oh.
and just done some stuff like with that
Yeah.
and noticeable difference.
Yeah.
We just was wondering because you're gonna blend it together anyway. So now when you're doing that anyways, you're gonna the differences, so you're gonna blend accordingly so it's always consistent.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, so one thing too, kind of like going off talking about the brick houses and how that can really affect,
Mhm.
right, aging and whatnot. When we get to the Lucky 13, that's where we can go back to
Okay.
that conversation,
Yeah.
and really talk about that.
Now I'm going to ask the dumbest question.
Let's
You
go
ready?
for it.
No, you ready? So have you guys have you tried it? Okay, I knew the answer that they've all tried it. They're probably already done with it. But what did you guys think of the Baby Jane? Good, bad, and different. Not like other stuff better. Like what's that? Very good. You got a very good. Yes? No? Because this is brand new. This for who's the first time trying Baby Jane?
It's been out 1 month,
Yeah,
like little
I
over
mean,
a
it
month,
hasn't been. It has. We've been doing. By the way, we've been doing tastings here.
Oh wow, that's great.
So
Yeah,
yeah, but it's only been out for a month, so I'm not surprised a lot of hands went up.
that's
It hasn't
awesome.
been tried a lot. What's the ABV on this?
So the ABV on the Baby Jane is going to be 91.
91 proof.
Yep, exactly. 90 for both the Baby Jane and our 10-year.
Mhm.
Baby Jane's going to be 7 barrel blends, and the whiskey in here is going to be between about 4 and 7 years old as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's really nice. I think we'll go through prices later, but the price point is pretty good too.
And it's great in cocktail play. A lot of my background is, bar operations and being a bartender in New York City. And when I R&D or I go,
We won't hold that against you, but okay.
fair enough, fair enough. But this is one of my favorite for making drinks with, especially in our lineup. And the price point's perfect for it. But whether it's something shaken, a little bit citrusy, or just really awesome old fashioned, that won't break the bank by any means, Baby Jane.
Well, it's also got a
Fine.
high enough proof that you're not losing the distillate in
Exactly.
the drink too.
Totally. And just
Still
like
going to shine through.
a little bar spoon of sugar and you're great. Yeah.
Like it. All right.
Mm.
What's the mash bill on this one?
Yeah. So the mash bill on the Baby Jane is one of the few mash bills that we can actually give out, right? Because some of our other ones, we are sourcing the barrel. So it's kind of hard to give you the total mash bill when there's a blend of whiskeys. But ours for Baby Jane is going to be 80, 10, 10. So 80 Baby Jane corn, and the rest is going to be malted rye and malted barley.
Oh, so you're using malted rye.
Yeah.
That explains a taste profile I was getting.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. That little bit
Yeah.
on the back there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. And it's a different mash bill, so it's a different flavor profile than you're getting for most things and that same price point.
Totally. And I love a little bit of kind of spice again at the end, and you still have this strong, creamy, very, very smooth
like it.
mouthfeel.
I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to really go to the sort of the flagship.
Yep. Yeah.
This is where everybody sort of, if you're a fan of Widow Jane, this is sort of where you cut your teeth on it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So this is the 10-year-old.
Yeah, the 10-year is, for the novice drinker, but also for the experienced drinker. Everything in here is going to be also a very small 5-barrel blend, 91 proof. What I find too, especially with the 10-year, so prior to about 2018, all of our products that were coming out were going to be single barrels. And when we had Lisa Robicker become involved with our project during the Samson and Surrey takeover, She really kind of started this whole blending project as we know it today and really what the brand is. So I always, too, especially if someone, said, I had Widow Jane 10 years ago, we'll have it again because it's going to be a lot different than what you had back then. And again, the 10 years, the one you'll most commonly see, it's our flagship. It's for the price of what it is, and for the taste, it's an excellent 10-year. And that 10's just the minimum age that we have
Right.
going on here, right? And anything we have with an age statement, that's just the minimum of what's going on.
Okay.
The 10 will be a blend of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Indiana.
I gotta tell, because I don't think sometimes people think of this when you start doing there's no definition for small batch. Okay, there's no definition. It just has to be smaller than your regular batch. Well, if you only make small batch, so that's sort of a hard one to do, right? But start thinking about it this way. When the more barrels you put into something, the 100, 200, 300, 400 barrels, the more the easier it is to get sort of a consistent flavor across the board. Because I can take it from different parts, I can put it in, I can even hide stuff. Right? Oh, I get that barrel, but if I put it in that with the other 300 that I'm putting in, you won't taste that that little bit of a off kilter taste, right? The smaller you start going, the more difficult it is to keep consistency, and there's no place left to hide.
Exactly.
So when you're doing when you're doing a 5-barrel batch, you only have there's a very small window that you can work in to always make it taste as close as you can to this. And there'll always be drift that's inherent, but it's a really small window that you have to work into. And it's a much more difficult process.
Sure. Well, I mean, and I'm not going to say any names, but think of some of these big whiskey companies that you see small batch on it. It can be hundreds, thousands of barrels sometimes. So we really, really take a lot of pride in these very small batches. And talking about, just our 3 blenders on the team, they go through a lot of work to really make the blending program what it is. And I think that's something, again, on top of our limestone water and our heritage and our story, that is another really big part of the brand, is us being blenders.
Now I'm going to ask everybody, just out of curiosity, raise your hand if this is the first time trying Widow Jane 10. Really? See, that sort of surprised me. I thought there was a lot of hands, by the way. You can't see it on the thing, but there was a lot of hands that came up because this has been a pretty popular whiskey for quite a while. I'm not disparaging you. I'm actually glad because it means that there are more people still coming to the category that haven't tried it.
Yeah.
So kudos for you to come in tonight and listen to us talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And well, there was whiskey involved, so it's not let's not bring him up to Mother Teresa event, but there was free whiskey involved with this. So what do you guys think of the 10? You like that? That's good. It's been it's good whiskey. It has been for quite a while. And even though it has changed over the years, you're not going to know that unless you go back and try something. But I think what's been coming out has been really, really good.
Well, and too, if you guys, if you still have any of the Baby Jane, I always say too, try to keep. I see not a lot of Baby Jane out there. We might have to get you some more. I don't know.
Oh, you've fallen into wait a minute. So you've fallen into their trap.
Yeah.
You just said the one statement that could possibly get you in trouble. And that is, oh, you need to compare, because you have to tell them at the beginning to hold some back, because now they're going to say, we need more whiskey because we don't have enough to actually do that.
Well, you guys can blame me for that. And if we need more whiskey, I will make sure that it is happily gotten for you all. It's a conversation.
Yeah. Rookie
started drinking.
Yeah, rookie mistake.
Sounds like I waited too long to have a drink.
Yeah, that's how it is. But they've been waiting. They're just like I think I saw a couple of them do this. It's really bad. I didn't hear any evil laugh, so that was good. But
well, for anyone who still has some, it's nice to go back and forth between, just to at least taste the difference between age, right? And like what a younger whiskey versus something with 10. Because as we get older, and some people argue, and maybe, you have opinions, I'm sure, about sweet spot of aging on whiskey. And a lot of people think, It's around the 7-year mark, and it can really people
Yeah.
have different palates and different opinions on it, but it's cool to taste and go.
You know what? I got to tell you, I think having the two next to each other and comparing them,
Yeah,
I can remember. I don't need to go back. By the way, I still have some. Um, no, I think it actually shows the Baby Jane has a lot more character than most people would think,
exactly.
being the younger of the two whiskeys. Obviously there's a difference, but there's a lot of good qualities in that younger whiskey that I don't think a lot of other younger whiskeys would have. And what's the barrel? How many barrels are you using for that one?
For
For the
10
Baby Jane?
about 7.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So still very small.
very small.
And that's a great point that I really love that you made too, is like all the character and flavor going back. And it's one of the big things I do in tasting people on the back and forth of it all. It's like, yeah, this might be a younger whiskey. It's still not, I mean, it's 4 years old.
It's not
minimum.
grainy.
No.
And that's what it is. A lot of younger whiskey, you'll get to a point where all you can taste is out of the graininess in it, and it's
Sure.
sort of off-putting.
Yep.
There really isn't that. I'm not finding that. So yeah, I don't mind drinking a whiskey that's younger, but there's 4 to 7 in there. So you're using the 7 to pop it up a little bit and to prop
Exactly.
everything up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that either.
It's not too much of a baby.
Yeah. Yes. Lisa? Matt, what's the mash bill on the 10?
Yeah, so the mash bills for all the rest kind of moving forward, we don't quite give out per se because we're getting these barrels from different facilities and they each have varying mash bills for what they're using. Just the Baby
Just the Baby Jane, because they're making it that way.
Specifically.
So, but here's the other part of that. That maybe I don't know if this helps at all. The other whiskeys that you're using each have a mash bill, and you can take all of those mash bills and then add them all up. So you can say like, okay, I got percentage of corn is in this one is this, and you can start adding all the percentages together and say, okay, the mash bill is, and then you give but what you're doing is when you're making something and distilling it, the mash bill you're using is distinct. So just taking those and adding them all together, it's nice to look at and say how much corn, how much this, but they've each been through the distillation process, and it doesn't sort of work that way. Is that a good way to say it?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. So she could add all the numbers together and tell you, well, it's 50, it's 60% corn, it's this, it's that. But all the little parts that you use to make it are now they're still separate. It's only giving you a percentage. It's not really giving you how the effect on the whiskey blend. Yeah, exactly. You couldn't take that combined mash bill, make something else, and it would taste the same.
Exactly. Yep.
It would, because it wouldn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
thanks, Matt. This is why I'm glad to have you back.
In the 10-year? No, not yet. And that hopefully we haven't been aging it long enough. So there's no big promises for what could happen in the future with Baby Jane and et cetera, but we have plenty of it aging. We're going to continue to age it.
Yeah, you're gonna see where it goes.
See where it goes.
Yeah, you're gonna see where it goes. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, totally.
Stupid.
Totally.
That's stupid otherwise not to do it. I mean, you want to see how it goes. So that's
Absolutely.
very good. All right. So 10, good. Everybody? All right. Well, there you go. You're batting 1,000. Look at you. All right. So now we're gonna go to the Lucky 13.
Lucky 13 is a real fun one. And I'm gonna have a little sip before I'm sure you guys already probably had your sip.
No. They've been I've been watching them. Once we caught them, they've been doing good.
Yeah, so our Lucky 13 here is going to be a little bit hotter in that too. Moving on through the rest of the line, we're going to be coming in at 93 proof. For the 13, these are going to be whiskeys between 13 and 16-year-old. And with these, there's no kind of rebarreling. And kind of going back to what you're talking about with rick houses, and rick houses can really affect the aging process, right? A barrel that's on the bottom versus the top versus a couple rows in the middle. It also depends on how big your rick house is.
Listen, I've had whiskey that we call sister barrels.
Yep.
Same distillation date, next to each other, stored in next to each other, and huge difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Huge difference. You taste both of them. Technically in your head, they're going like, oh, those should taste the same.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope. Because there's still the each barrel that they were put in is now different.
Totally. Well, and I'm of the belief that there is no bad whiskey. So, because we're blenders, we're getting barrels.
Oh, you never had Fishki.
Well,
Oh,
there's no bad whiskey that we're getting in that we're
okay,
trying.
all right.
So
Well,
we're
you can
trying to,
go that way.
yeah, we're gonna go that way.
You've ever had fish? You've ever had Fishki?
I have not had Fishki.
No. Okay, it's whiskey that was aged in a herring barrel.
Oh,
So
oh.
so to come out and say that there's no bad whiskey, you're so wrong. Although some people really like it, and they're very wrong too. But
Yeah, no,
take my word for it.
I will, because I don't know if I
I'll
want
send
to
you
say
some.
that. But more should I say, we don't get sent any bad whiskey, and we
There you
don't
go.
pick any bad whiskey. But because we are blenders, right, and we're looking for these very specific flavor profiles that when they're all together, fit the bill of what we want. Not all of them always are that. And sometimes we think they need either a bit more aging, or, there's something about it that's not now, but we're going to come back to it.
Mhm. You see the promise.
We see the promise. And that is what we see here most specifically in the Lucky 13. So these are barrels that we've kind of set aside.
Mhm.
They didn't fit the bill for what we were looking for in 10-year, or maybe one of our ryes or another project. So we kind of reassess and re-go back
Mhm.
into them. It's our distiller's favorite in this capacity. But kind of, to me, the most unique and more esoteric of the barrels is what we put into our 13 here. Again, minimum 13 usually can get up to.
Are you trying to make a consistent taste profile on the 13 though?
I would say that I
Or
get
just making the
consistent.
best whiskey you can at that point?
No, I would say there's a pretty consistent taste profile on it, and that, we're sipping on it here. I get much more kind of like tobacco and deeper spice going
Yeah,
on.
leather too.
A lot of leather going on. And I shouldn't say a lot, but
And there's that dry wood spice on the finish.
it dries out.
Yeah.
And another thing too, right? So this is going to be a little bit larger of a barrel blend, because as whiskey ages and sits in these rick houses and goes through influx of different temperature, we're losing some to angel share. I think most of you guys seem like big whiskey fans, know what angel share is, but it's alcohol lost to evaporation. And two, the barrels in here, we have, where our rick house is definitely more of a maritime climate compared to what Kentucky is. We're right on the water. If you ever come down to visit the distillery, and please, anyone who's interested in coming down to New York, take my contact info at the end. But you walk a block down and you're on the river, and you
Right.
can see the Statue of Liberty, and you get all this influx of the salt air. And so we're taking these barrels that we're bringing in from Kentucky and whatnot, and that are coming from, kind of landlocked places and states with different kinds of humidity and temperatures. And then they're additionally aging in our facility. So they're getting that climate also involved with the barreling. And again, these are what we're putting into our 13, just
Okay.
unadulterated, aging, and getting as much age on them as they can.
What do you guys think of the 13? Lucky? Feeling lucky, punk? No, I like this one a lot. I've always had though. It's been always one of my.
It's one of my favorite sippers.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is what we call a thinking person's whiskey. There's more to you can really sort of delve into this. There's more and more as you're drinking this. And by the way, you all have a little bit of water. So if you add a couple drops to this one, I mean, I know it's at, everybody gets into the thing. It's at 93 proof,
Yep.
but even at 93 proof, adding a drop or so of water into something like this, there's a lot of more flavor profiles that you're not tasting just directly out of the bottle.
Sure. Well, and two, right? Like with anything that's kind of getting to a little bit up there, your first sip is just getting your mouth acquainted with it, right?
Right.
Your second sip is where you're getting all that flavor.
Never trust your first sip.
Never trust your first sip. Make sure you do that kind of Kentucky chew, move it around your mouth a little bit.
We call it a New York yaw.
I know you're New York. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll start to use that one.
Yeah,
I like
you have
that.
to use that now because you're in New York and you can't use Kentucky. Sorry, they don't allow stuff like that.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, no, in that capacity, especially with a 13, you do get a lot more from it.
Yeah, it's a lot more. It's a bolder, richer,
Bolder, more
yeah,
complex.
there's a lot of other stuff going on there. I like this one a lot.
As you get with age, too.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell everybody as I get older. All right. Now, for something completely different,
Sure.
we're going to delve into the rise,
Yeah.
right?
Let's talk about it.
So we got Applewood, the Applewood rye.
Yep.
All right. So tell me what obviously what are you doing? How are you introducing Applewood to this?
Mhm.
Is
So-
it a barrel? Is it chips? Is it What are you doing?
Yeah, so what we do is we get fresh cut Applewood staves from Minnesota, and we are putting them in the barrel for just about 3 to 6 months. So
Okay.
yeah, very, very short, very light. And what I get from this is more of a like a floral, like an apple blossom, a bit more crisp, even like suggestively on par with like more how I would think of a Calvados as opposed to like an Applejack or something. I don't
Okay.
find this to be overly sweet. I find it to be very delicate and lovely. And I really like the quick touch
It's
of
a it's kissed by an apple,
kiss by an apple.
not, it's not a candy apple.
No, no, by no
You know what I mean?
means. Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
fake apple flavor. It's you're getting something different in there, but it's not beating you over the head with it.
Exactly, exactly. And this is kind of part, we do some barrel projects and experimentations, and that I know with some of our like our vaults, each one of those is going to be put in a different kind of wood. And this is kind of a part of that process is
Okay.
experimenting with what
Now,
else we
what are
can
we
do.
starting with this? Are we starting with a specific rye that we're
Yeah.
starting?
Well, and it's funny there. I would say I would normally do this the flip in that. So the paradigm, think of that as being the bones of what's going into the
Okay.
Applewood. Yeah.
All right.
And both the rise.
This was the order I was given.
No, it's okay. It's okay. But the Applewood's great, and that, especially coming off the 13, it's excellent to sip on. But yeah, so these are also going to be 5 barrel blends, 4 to 6 year old whiskeys. But it also contains New York distillate, our ryes.
Oh, okay.
So we're making the distillate, the rye that goes into these, as well, in addition to our Baby Jane bourbon.
So what's the mash bill on this one? Can you tell us that on this one?
I can't because it's also combined with Kentucky and Indiana.
Okay.
So we don't quite give that one out. But it is going to be high rye with a little bit of barley. There's not going to be any corn in it.
No corn. Okay.
Yep.
What do you guys think of the Applewood? Good? Yeah?
Yes.
It's 93.
Yes. Both the ryes will be. Yeah. Yeah. We started with the 91s, and then we moved over to 93 now improve. And to this one, before we get to it, or if we haven't finished it yet.
Applewood is 93. And then yeah.
And that I would say to have like the paradigm a little bit next to it, if you have any left, or quickly follow it.
She said it enough times, so I don't want to hear it.
I was trying to watch and see the levels on some of these. But to be able to go back and forth, because you get what the rye is before and then what it is again with that little kiss
Yeah.
of the Applewood.
So the paradigm is the last one on the list you're trying. So that's the other rye. And I think it is a good one to sort of bop back and forth.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
Totally.
just to sort of get, this is what so the paradigm is what you're starting with, and the Applewood is being the addition onto that. Okay.
Yep. And again, just a quick 3 to 6 months of the Applewood staves in the barrel. They're like honeycomb staves. They're pretty thin, long. It's just very simple.
I think I like the paradigm.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? You like the paradigm?
What do you?
I just think, who likes the paradigm better? We got two ryes. Let's have a vote. That's whenever we see two things together, we have to vote on them, right? Don't we? All right. So what do you, paradigm?
Okay.
Applewood.
All right. I'm an
That's
Applewood
pretty
fan.
close. I gotta say though, I don't know. I thought it was gonna be a little bit more decisive, but it wasn't. That's good. Like it.
Okay.
You can have both. Yes, you can. Or you can mix them together. No.
Well, what do you like about the paradigm?
I do like I like that spiciness that it has at the finish.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and I think with the Applewood, I'm not kicking the Applewood away.
Yep.
I'm just saying with the Applewood, it tones it down a little bit. You get a different flavor profile.
Totally.
But it tones it down. And I sort of like that little sort of like spiky spice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the middle of your tongue.
And that we think of as rye.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Totally.
I like that one a lot.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right. And I think we got one more. And you guys, I think we have a surprise. But let's see if Kavor can drop that off up here and give us the samples before he goes away and tries them for everybody. There you go.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't going to have you go away. That's why. All right. So he's off. So the next one we're doing is the Widow Jane, the Vaults, aged 15 years, the oldest and rarest blend of straight bourbon whiskeys. This is batch 2. This is from the 2023 release. This is 49.5 or 99 proof. And you can tell us anything else you want to tell us about this one.
Yeah, so the Vaults is a really fun project, and this is going to be kind of the collection of our next stage of age after the Lucky 13. And with the vaults, what we do is a really cool kind of see
Should I
this.
just show you?
Yeah, here.
Can't see it up there anyway.
A really cool project with different kinds of rebarreling and experimenting with different kind of cask finish.
Okay.
Effectively. So I just want to make sure because I've been talking a lot about the
This is
most
batch
recent
2, so I
one.
don't know
Yeah.
which one it is.
So this is going to be this one from 2023. Any of the vaults is going to be the Chinkapin wood, and that is a white oak. What we find is that it has this really just nice little, again, similar to how I think of the Applewood, but a nice little kiss on the end. And we have been doing this project for the past 2 years. We have a really exciting one coming out soon and a few other finishes. We're working on a Mizunaro finish, which are really cool, an Amburana finish. So whenever you see a vault, I highly recommend if you are a big whiskey fan, this is definitely collectible and worth getting. We don't put a lot out. These are, again, very small batches. But the big thing is that these are big, bold, a lot of age on them. And we put them into different casts to just kind of see what kind of finish we can get to soften them up or bring out certain notes or flavors
Yeah.
that we really find interesting.
I mean, this one's really weird. The finish, all of a sudden, you get this really rich, and you get some of that leather, you get some of that stuff. All of a sudden, vanilla and sugar cookie,
Yeah.
like amazing, like almost like birthday cake in between
Mhm.
that birthday cake sugar
I get
cookie.
nutmeg. I get
Yeah,
a
it's
lot
a
of
lot of
fun
other
stuff.
stuff going on in there, and it's got it sort of has a sweet finish to it.
Totally. Well, and again, that's that limestone water making that sweet finish.
All right, well, there you go.
But one thing too about this one, guys, it's going to be at 99 proof. So this is going to be the hottest one that you guys have tasted so far. And definitely, if you were going to add water to
Yeah.
anything, I would add a little bit of water to this.
You can do the
Open it up.
what we like to call the Randall Bird method if you want, and you don't want to add water to it, so you take a swig and then drink it right afterwards.
Have many of you guys had 15 plus
That's good.
age whiskeys in the room? We got a couple. All right.
I've had
You've had
42-year-old.
one?
I've had 42-year-old whiskey. I've had 43-year-old whiskey.
Ugh, vaults and a cigar? Absolutely. Really? Did you get the 2023? Wow, that's awesome. Do you still have any left?
Whiskey that good, you don't drink it all at once, but you could all drink it. Well, yeah. That's the one where you pour your glass and then pour them something that looks sort of like it. For everybody else that came, and they're like, oh, I get that. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And you keep drinking yours. While you're doing, I would do like this one right here. It'd be fantastic with like a Coronado, like that middle wrapper, not a Maduro. I wouldn't do a Maduro with this one, but that little bit darker wrapper.
Oh yeah. Do you guys do any kind of cigar and whiskey clubs here?
Well, the wonderful state of Massachusetts makes it very difficult. We sell cigars here.
Okay. Okay.
We've been selling cigars for almost as long as we've been around, and we're celebrating 50 years.
Oh man.
So
Okay.
so I would say probably for like 45 years we've been selling cigars.
Well, Widow Jane is great with cigars, so I highly recommend the pairing. And you can get both here.
We have a deck, we have actually a patio outside, so maybe we should look into that this summer. Although I think it might be too right now, it's maybe too hot.
It's a little too swampy outside to be smoking cigars.
That's right.
But
as we say, the weather is always perfect inside a liquor store. An awning and a mister, we'd probably need that. So what did you guys think? What did you guys think of the of the last one, the 15? The vaults? You like the vault? All right. Good. I've seen a couple Chinkapin, but not many. And I've seen one of the Scotches use Chinkapin. Yeah. There hasn't really been that many. And it's sort of weird because it's actually one of the other woods that you can sort of find.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean?
Not
That's
that
like,
hard.
it's not that hard. It's not like, trying to get something that's.
Well, it's not like us trying to get the Mizunaro wood.
Mizunaro or something like that. You're right. So, well, I hope a lot of you, this is your first foray into Widow Jane. I hope you enjoyed yourself tonight. I want to thank Marissa because she did a great job tonight.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. And
Appreciate it.
We get a couple little things to take care of once we get off the air. So for everybody that's listening on Facebook, or if you ever want to see stuff, go wherever you get your podcasts. Look for It's the Liquor Talking. This will be up there probably. Cousin Vinny will get it up there tomorrow, and you can listen to it. And actually, it's video now, so we have both video and audio. So thanks everybody for coming. Everybody else, you really, 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 really should have been here. It was awesome. Let everybody else go. Thanks everybody.
Thank you guys.